Safety standards. My next guest says this union strike threat is all about protecting big labor and corrupt practices. Michelle Malkin, this 30-day deal, you don't like it so much, do you?
Well, I'm holding my breath, and I know a lot of people in the industry, and it's a wide amount of people who are affected here, as Phil mentioned, a huge amount of the American economy that is basically under the thumb and under the gun of big labor threats. The LA and Long Beach strike that lasted a little over a week around Thanksgiving was estimated by some estimates to have cost $1 billion a day. This would have been far worse, and I don't think it's over yet. I mean, we're not out of the woods. We don't know the details. And the sticking point has been these container royalties. It's an issue I've covered for more than a year now. And what people really need to know about this is that it's a very archaic holdover from the 60s and 70s. Essentially, every longshoreman on the East Coast, on the Gulf Coast, is paid something on the order of $16,000 per head for these container fees. And it's a relic from the age when unions were very concerned when America was moving toward modernization. And it was basically a payoff to big labor to compensate for automated cargo weighing. Now, think about, your average worker in any other industry. Do they get some kind of compensation or payoff because America has moved forward and we've advanced in technology? Right. It's ridiculous. But even the Maritime Association, which is at the negotiating table, isn't asking for it to be completely eliminated, which is where I think it should go. Right. They're just asking for it to be capped, and they're being treated as if they're, abridging international human rights here.
So we get a temporary reprieve. We're going to keep our eye on that. Michelle, I want to change gears a little bit because we're watching the White House. We have a couple of stakeout cameras in the White House. We saw Speaker Boehner leave. We saw House Minority Leader Pelosi leave as well. Neither one hit a camera. Neither one's telling us what's going on. An hour and 10 minutes inside, Michelle. What's your gut? What do you think's going on? Do we have a deal or no deal?
My gut is feeling very queasy, and I think a lot of fiscal conservatives have been very worried about what John Boehner may be giving up at the table here. And I think that's why there's been so much grassroots agitation for a fresh injection of leadership on Capitol Hill on the House Republican side. There's always been a sense, as long as these fiscal cliff negotiations have been going on, and even predating that to the last time that we had the debt ceiling negotiations, or rather giveaway, that we're giving up way too much. And the sense is that it's all a kabuki theater, and we know what the ending is.
Yeah, and President Obama decided to cut his Hawaiian vacation short for what? For what reason? What do you think's going on?
Well, I think that's part of maybe that's Act 1 or 2 of the kabuki, to make it seem as though, even though he flew off for that vacation, that he actually cares about what's happening here. And I think that's why so many Americans and Fox viewers, obviously in particular, are fed up with what's going on in D.C., because it seems that there's always a predetermined conclusion. And for the last 30, 40 years in American politics, that end has been kicking the can down the road further and not telling America that finally, once and for all, we need to just suck it up, take the consequences of all of the profligacy that's built up over the years in Washington, D.C., and when they say cut spending, mean it.
Mean it. Michelle, I've said, let's call this, forget the fiscal cliff, this should be called the Obama cliff, and we should swan dive over it. Half a minute or so. Good idea, bad idea?
Yeah, I think that would be part of, finally accepting all the consequences and letting the chips fall where they need to fall. But I think what the House Republicans need to do, especially knowing that they had whatever mandate that they did have after the election, was to be the opposition party, to stand for core limited government principles, and not to sell us down the river, particularly all those small business operators and entrepreneurs out there who are trying to keep their heads above water. My God.
Got to leave it there. Michelle Malkin, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
You bet. You too, Eric.